Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's make a reverse dyed diamond pattern. I'm going to do this on a black Gildan Ultra Cotton shirt. I'm going to begin by centering the shirt, and this process is going to go really fast. But down below this video in the description, I have a link to another video which shows how to center a shirt. Essentially what I'm doing is getting both halves of the fabric on the front of the shirt right up next to each other and both halves of the fabric on the back of the shirt right up next to each other. That way, whenever I remove the color or apply the dye, when the shirt is completed and you look at the front of the shirt, both halves of the fabric are going to look pretty much like each other, and the same thing for the back. Normally when I do this process, I use a washable marker to make marks on the shirt, but since this is a black shirt, they won't show up very well. So instead I'm using a chalk pencil, and I have a link to that down below this video in the description as well. To fold the diamond pattern, I'm going to fold the hem of the shirt up past the top of the shirt. I used my chalk marker to make an area or a mark where I'd kind of like for the center of the diamond to be. Honestly, I wish I would have brought it up just a little bit. So if I did this one again, I would bring the center of my diamond a little further toward the top of the shirt. Like I said, I folded the shirt in half. Then using my straight edge and my chalk marker, I'm going to draw a diagonal line on the shirt. I'm using my ruler to measure the same distance on the bottom of the shirt as the side of the shirt so that my triangle is equal. Then from here, I'm going to do some accordion folds on this line, and I'm going to tie this line with some sinew. Sinew is wax coated, so whenever I tie this line with sinew and I pull it really tightly until the sinew locks down on itself, that will form a waterproof barrier that's not going to allow the dye or the color remover down underneath that line. So that line is going to remain black. I'm going to straighten my folds on either side of this initial line and continue tying sinew lines. I'm going to use a ruler and kind of make my sinew lines close to the same distance apart, but you can do whatever you want on your shirt. You can either make them closer together, make them more random, make them further apart, vary. A lot of times I'll do closer together as I'm going toward the center of the diamond and further apart as I get away from the center of the diamond. It's totally up to you. To save time, I've sped this part of the video up quite a bit, but if you'd like to watch it slower, you can choose the settings icon on YouTube and choose your playback speed. You can either speed it up or slow it down. For the color removal process, I'm using a product called Brite Laundry Whitener, and I normally purchase mine from Walmart on the laundry aisle. They usually put it by the bleach products, even though it's not a bleach product. If for some reason you can't find any of the Brite in any of the stores close to you, I have a link down below this video where you can purchase some from Amazon. I'm doing a lot of shirts all at the same time, so I've placed them inside of a plastic tote, and this shirt is the black shirt up toward the top of the tote. I'm beginning by sprinkling the Brite over the top of all the items, and I'm doing this process outside because Brite does have a smell, and I don't want that in my dye space, and I'm also wearing a respirator through this entire process because I don't want to inhale any of the powder or the fumes from the Brite. Once I have the Brite over the top of the items, I'm going to pour 1 pot of boiling hot water over the top. If you'll notice, the minute that boiling water hits the Brite, the product starts to fizzle and bubble and immediately remove the color. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more Brite and another pot of boiling hot water over the top. I want to make sure these items are fully submerged in the Out White Brite solution. When it looks like an item has the color removed from it, I go ahead and take it out of the solution and take it to my utility sink and rinse it in cold water, then place it in my washing machine. When I have all the items in my washing machine, I'm going to wash them in cold water along with some Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent. Then I'm going to take the items out and soak them in a soda ash solution for about 20 to 30 minutes. And I don't like to put items that have either been previously dyed or that I'm reverse dyeing down inside of my main soda ash solution, because some of the color can be soaked out and there's usually a smell with reverse dyed items. I don't want that in my main soda ash solution. So I'll either pour it into another bucket and then discard whatever is left over, or in this case, I don't have very much soda ash solution left, so I'm just going to use my main soda ash and then throw the rest away. Then I'm going to place the shirt aside and allow it to dry out completely before I apply the dye. By the way, I'm leaving these items tied for this entire process. I'm not going to untie them until the shirt is fully dyed. For this shirt, I'm going to ice dye it on a rack, and so I need to make myself some form of ice barrier. I'm using some silicone cake molds, I'm attaching them together, and then I'm going to wrap them around the shirt, and to hold them up close to the shirt, I'm going to use some wooden clothespins and attach them to the metal rack. Then, because the shirt is completely dry, I'm going to lightly spray it with a little bit of soda ash solution that I have down inside of a spray bottle. That's going to help the dye stick to the top of the shirt a little better. For this shirt, I'm going to alternate using blues and reds. The colors that I'm using are sapphire blue, royal blue, sky blue, and deep space, which are all Dharma colors. And then for the reds, I'm using cardinal red, which is a Dharma color, wild cherry from Dye Spin, red wine, and Chinese red, which are both Dharma colors as well. Once I have the dye on the shirt, I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of dry soda ash over the top and then add on a layer of ice. Then I placed the shirt aside and I allowed the ice to melt. And after the first layer of ice melted, I came back and had quite a bit of undissolved dye left sitting on top, so I added a second layer of ice. After that second layer of ice melted, I went ahead and left the shirt alone and allowed it to process for about 48 hours before I began rinsing it. To rinse the shirt, I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I untied the shirt and I warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to try to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. Instead of rinsing for a long time, I decided to soak the shirt. So I added some really hot water to my utility sink, added a little bit of Blue Dawn dish soap, placed the shirt inside, and allowed it to soak. When the water cooled off, I changed it out and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I placed the shirt and some Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent into my washing machine and washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt's been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? So there's a couple things about this shirt. First, I should have let it dry out between tying it and putting it in the Outright Brite solution because I didn't get perfect saturation. I have black lines left, but I also have areas of the shirt that didn't have the color removed that I was expecting to be removed. So if I would have let the shirt dry out, the shirt would have soaked up that Outright Brite solution better, and I would have done better with removing some of the black. Honestly, though, I don't think that part's bad. I mean, it does make kind of a cool design. The other thing is a lot of my blues and reds kind of mixed, and instead of having blue and red, I have kind of some purple on the shirt. I don't think it looks bad. It's just not exactly what I was expecting. So overall, I like the shirt. There's a few areas, some of the blues are not quite as intense as others, like the sky blue is not a super bright color, and so that one is a little more mild. But for the most part, I think the shirt ended up looking pretty cool. But what do you guys think? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.